Hi folks, this the cat notification is out for quite some time now, so I figured I'd make a video on how to prepare for cat, and it has to be fast because we don't have a lot of time. And so, but this advice, it's not an advice per se; it's my own experience. So this can be used for a long-term preparation as well. But let me just so tell you, I had a few points. So if you're not aware of the format of CAT is a 2-hour paper with 3 sections, and the sections are verbal, DILR, and quant. And so before you start preparing for CAT, the first thing I would want to do is give a mock. And I'm not saying go through the sections or go through the material and then give a mock. I say when you're thinking of giving a CAT, the first thing you should do is just find a free mock or a past paper and just give it. Okay. And so, what you're basically trying to establish is this makes you familiar with the paper and it pegs you at a certain point in competition. And so, you have a frame of reference before you start preparation. And now you can start. Okay. So the first thing you should do is get your basics done very, very fast. Okay. So you've given the mock, and so you need to start studying the basics. Go through the maths. Okay, study all the chapters that you're unfamiliar with. Chances are you've studied most of it in 10th, but if you have forgotten it, just go through the basics, find free lectures, or take up a course. It doesn't really matter as long as the teacher is good and they tell you a few tricks to solve the question quick. Okay, so those tricks are gonna come in handy. And so yeah, that is very, very important. And okay, so take intro lessons on DILR as well, because you must be aware of the type of questions. I'm not saying this is where you should prepare for DILR. At this point, just take intro lessons so you understand the types of questions, and the preparation part can be done over time. Okay, and in terms of VARC, I would suggest that find a mentor, because VARC is the only subject, the only section that can boost your score. Uh, in quant and in DILR, you can pretty much, like, there is a fixed range within which you can score, because you cannot solve every single question. A few people will solve all the questions, but most of the people will attempt 50% of the paper, and that's going to be very good. But in VARC, there is a chance you can solve 90% of the paper, and that sets you apart from the competition. Okay, so you must understand that uh, in VARC, it's not about solving the questions correctly, but picking the right questions fast and solving them correctly. Okay. All right. So let me just give individual advice. So before I do that for every subject, I'd say you must study daily, study every day. Okay. And there are a few sets of tasks that you must do every single day. And these are the tasks that you will repeat all the time. And this is the bare minimum. You must do this every day, and don't skip this. Even if you're unable to give time to an individual subject, just make sure that you solve uh, tests of VARC, DILR, and quant every single day. It has to be 15-minute test. So I bought a course where we had a test, some daily practice tests that we had to do. But you can find your own alternative. I won't name the prep, but you can find it for yourself. So make sure you solve a few questions of every single subject. Okay, so you don't lose touch. That's one advice. And the other one is that, okay, so now let's move on to the individual ones. Okay, so VARC, how do you prepare that? So, of course, you have familiarized yourself with the format. The important bits are the passages which you read, and based on that, you answer questions. So, you must understand that some people are going to tell you, and that's not a bad advice, but people are going to suggest you that you must pick the easy passages and then solve. I'm saying that's not possible. Okay, that's you simply cannot do that, because how do you know a passage is simple? It's not about if it appears simple or if it is a topic that you're familiar with. If you're familiar with a topic and that's why you're picking the passage, that means you haven't read enough. Okay. And if you feel that this passage is easy to read, so I must pick that, chances are the questions might be difficult. So there you are. You wasted your time, and you can't even crack one question. Okay, so here's what you do in VRC. You solve every single question. Okay, you go through, you read every passage, you read every question, and you give 8 minutes to this activity. Okay, so you must read the passage in 3 to 4 minutes, and in 4 minutes you must solve every question. Okay, so 4 questions for each passage. And now you might think that if you think that you don't have enough time for this, then that means that you need to work on your speed of reading. And you're not supposed to just read, you're also supposed to understand it. Okay, you must inhale the topic. Okay, how do you do that? How do you increase your speed? Read aeon essays every single day. Okay, and I mean it. Okay, so first thing you do is read 50 aeon essays. 50. Okay, get it done fast, like in a week. And what it does is it makes you familiar with various types of passages. And aeon essays are generally hard to read. They're not like newspapers. They are in-depth analysis of various topics. So make sure you read them, and your reading speed will increase. And yeah, so don't underplay this thing. Okay, you must be very, very quick in terms of VARC. And then you have, so once you've gone through all the questions, all the options, and your mentor has helped you identify what the author means, what the question means. So it's not a problem of having to pick 3 out of the 4 passages. Now you can go through all of them, and you can actually solve the ones which you are sure that they're going to be right. Okay, so make sure you do that. And the other part of VARC is jumbled sentences or fill in the blanks. I'm sure you can figure that one out. It's not that difficult, just that you need time to do that. And time is the one that you don't have. So one of the things that I say is CAT is different from GMAT. And it's different from GMAT is because in GMAT you have to solve every single question. Okay. So it's about accuracy and speed. GMAT is about accuracy and speed. CAT is about accuracy, speed, and selection. If you select the wrong question, you can start a horrible trend and you might ruin your papers. So don't do that. Okay. Be very, very quick and solve as many questions as you can, so your selection also improves. Now let's move on to the DILR bit. Okay. So solve all kinds of sets in logical reasoning and solve 2 sets every day. Okay. No one can teach you logical reasoning. The more questions you solve, the more familiar you get with it, the more intuitive you'll get, and you'll know which questions to pick and solve. And if you get a DI question, okay, data interpretation, then that is a lifeline. Okay. So these questions may take a lot of time to solve, but if you are good with basic mathematics, you will definitely solve all of them. Okay. You'll solve all the questions, and it'll help you not get a negative or a zero score. So make sure you do that. Okay. Make sure that if you haven't solved even one logical reasoning question in the set, just pick a DI. If you have 10 minutes left, pick a DI set, solve it, save yourself from getting a low sectional percentile. Okay. You must clear all the sectionals. Don't miss out on any sectional. Okay. Because then you are simply ineligible for all the IMs, and you don't want to be in that position. So all right, so let's move on to the quant guidelines and solve all kinds of questions when you're prepping. But once you've given mocks and sectionals, you know the questions you're comfortable with. Okay, and when you begin solving the paper, when you begin solving the section, just go through the entire section and solve the questions which are very easy to solve. You know these questions. You know the questions which are easy to solve. Solve them first. Okay, take 10 minutes, solve 2-3 questions. And now you're not scoring 0. Okay, now you've set the baseline. Okay, and now you go ahead, you pick the moderate questions and you maximize your score. That's how you should be approaching DILR and quants. Solve the ones that you know you're going to solve, and then you maximize your score. And so yeah, let's move on to the mock taking guideline. All right, so the first thing is I want you to understand why you're taking a mock. Okay, there are some outcomes that are attached with taking mocks. Make sure you get these outcomes. All right, one of the outcomes is that you are now acclimatized with CAT. So you know the paper, you know how to solve it. You're not walking into a completely different environment. Okay. The other outcome is that you know how much you're scoring in an easy, medium, and hard exam. The point of mock is not to score hard every single time. It is to know how you're going to perform in different types of exams. So if it's an easy, I'm scoring in this range. If it's medium, I'm scoring in this range, and so on and so on. Okay. And then the next one is that you know where your points of improvement are. You know what to improve. You know what's wrong. You know what you need to fix. That's a good part of taking mock. And you know which question to pick and skip. So selection is a intuition that comes from taking lots of mocks. So make sure you do that. Now give 15 to 25 mocks. This I mean, some people can take 40 as well, but if you're short on time, take at least 15. All right. But please understand that analyzing mock is more important than giving mock. So spend an additional 2 to 3 hours analyzing every single question. Solve the ones that you could not solve, find the correct answers to the incorrect ones, and figure out the type of questions that you generally attempt. And you do it over 3 or 4 mocks, and your score starts improving. Okay. And the other advice is that do lots of practice, solve sectionals of VARC, DILR, and quant. Solve at least 2 mocks. So I'm saying solve at least 2 sectionals every day if you can. Okay, make sure you do that, because if you're short on time, uh, then you have to give in more hours. Okay, you cannot expect to give 2 3 hours every single day, and for some people that might work, but uh, my general suggestion would be give a lot of time to cat. If you're approaching the exam, practice every single day. Mocks can be given every weekend, or if you're approaching, then give it every 4 day, but make sure you don't give another mock until you have analyzed the previous mock. Okay, make sure you do that. Now here are some special suggestions. Once your cat slots are out, I want you to give the mock in a defined slot. So if you have a morning slot, I want you to give cat exam in that slot itself. Don't move out of your seat. Sit in that seat for 30 minutes and then start the mock. Okay, so what happens is that you must be preparing in the time that you're free, but that's not going to happen in exam. I don't want you to just go to the exam and then now suddenly you're giving it in a different time slot and your body is dizzy, you're sleeping and those sorts of things. At least give 4 or 5 mocks in your time slot. Okay. And the other one is that meditate every single day before you give a mock. Sit down and meditate for 30 minutes. So your mind gets clear, you get relaxed, and then this is not going to improve your marks, but it will definitely help you get focused. And trust me, if you're distracted during the test, it will reduce your marks. You may not be able to perform the best at the best of your ability, but if you are focused, then it might help you score better. Okay, so don't underestimate meditating. Do it every single day. Read aeon essays every day. Finish 50 as soon as possible. Give your mocks, analyze them, practice every day, and yeah, that's about it. That's how I went about it. And if I had to give myself advice, this is how I would do it. Now, obviously, I did it in a short span of time. If I had 8 or 10 months of prep, then I would do this thing on a bigger scale. So yes, that's all from my end. Thank you so much for watching.